Awesome. Hey, this is Jed Barker here from Best Life Mortgage. I have an awesome guest today, Chris Johnson. He is the owner of Raybrook Homes. And Chris, how long ago did you and I meet? I mean, it's been about a year or 2 years, or I don't even remember. A couple
Yeah,
of
I
years?
think I think we're a little over two. I think we met
Yeah,
almost 3 years ago.
yeah. It's been a little bit. Time flies when you're slinging loans and building houses.
Indeed.
So, right? Stuff like that. But Chris is the owner of Raybrook Homes. They specialize. I'm gonna say what I believe you do and everything like that, and then I'm gonna have you correct me. But they specialize in renovation and ground up construction on residential properties, and that's a huge part of a huge help to me as a mortgage person because a lot of the clients or borrowers that I have. They'd like to get into either building their own home or renovating a home they want to purchase, but a lot of times they're sort of drawn away from it, or they're like don't want to do like the renovation part because they think it's too complicated, or like one of the spouses, like for me in my home, like I'm like all about like, hey, let's build a new home, and my wife's always like, no. It's a lot of work, and I don't want to have to wait, and you might not ever get to it, and you're not the type of guy who is going to fix everything in the house properly and stuff like that. Although I've gotten a lot better at doing that over these last couple of years. So I'm proving myself a little bit more. But tell me, Chris, a bit about who you are and your company. I'd like to start with that because if we're going to have people that want to renovate their homes, from my standpoint, using loans to do that, they're going to need to have a really good contractor that understands the process. So I'd like to introduce you as a really awesome choice in that process. But tell me a bit about your company and about what makes you guys tick and how you stand out a bit, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I got started actually flipping houses. So renovations was my bread and butter, and that was over a decade ago at this point. And we're at a point now where we just love building things. So we still do a ton of renovations. We build some pretty epic houses. And I think some of the things that set us apart, well, I don't think, customer service
Okay.
at the end of the day. There's a lot of really good folks that can build things,
Right.
but generally speaking, business is not their strong suit.
Right.
And customer service isn't their strong suit.
Yeah.
So we got a whole team. We have an office staff. We have project managers. We have amazing software in place, all of which is geared towards people having an amazing experience.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can tell every time, I've communicated with you. One thing that's always high on the list of what is Chris' strengths is this communication. Like in my mind, a really good communicator, and a good communicator makes the process of something as complicated as renovating a house or building a house. It can make it go that much smoother. And so that is really good. Even like yesterday when I had referred you over to one of my borrowers, the first thing he said when he called me, he's like, wow, Chris is a good communicator. Right. I thought that was pretty hot because that's what I felt too. And that's what I'm looking for mostly in my partners is people that know how to communicate with clients really well so that that the team is cohesive and we can get the projects done and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense.
absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, the industry's fraught with the horror stories of construction.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because renovating and building a house is actually fun.
Yeah.
And so well, that's really, we want to restore the joy to that
Yeah.
process, and communication is a really big part of that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I like that. I also want to mention I love the hat. Um, Very good. Is that like your normal get up?
It is my normal get up. Yes.
Nice. Very good.
Yep.
Very good. I need to rock it a little bit more, but I think if I start rocking a cowboy kind of hat, I'm gonna have to rock the beard because I think they go together in general.
The
I like.
beard, the beard's a recent addition.
Is it?
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. My family started watching again after a long time on DVD, Duck Dynasty. Yeah. And I remember Willie, or maybe one of the other guys on there, recently hearing him say that there's only two type of people in the world, or maybe three. Maybe it's two. No, three types of people in the world. Um, women, children, No, wait. I'm screwing it all up. It's something about not having women and children and those and people without beards or something. I forget. He was calling everyone that didn't have a beard not a man.
Well, they have some serious beards, so
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But I want to break into a little bit about renovations on the lending side. Just go into that a minute because I think anyone listening to this, if they've lasted for 5 minutes just hearing us chat, they may be interested in hearing about renovation lending. The cool thing on the renovation lending is that you have the opportunity as a buyer to now go look at homes that you wouldn't have looked at because you would have walked into them and said, no, I don't want to live in this house. It's not in good condition. It's not up to, you can look at those now and not just buy the home, but you can actually buy the home and get the money to renovate it all at one time. And then just get the project done without having to buy it and then figure out where the money comes from. And maybe your spouse now is dragging his feet or her feet on getting the money together to fix the kitchen, because you might have all these big dreams when you look at a house, you go to it and you're walking through, you're like, it's in a good location. The neighborhood's fine. It's close to the schools we want to live in. And it checks off a lot of boxes, but the carpets are from like 1980, 75, 60s. I don't know. It's green. The kitchen's pretty old. The bathrooms don't look that nice. And you're like, you know what? We have a vision to fix this house up, but how long is it really going to take us? Where's the extra money going to come from? Are we going to have to put it on credit cards? Are we going to have to, it's going to cost a ton on financing, that kind of thing. And with renovation financing and lending, all those questions about when will we do it? How will we do it? They just go out the window because they all get answered, meaning that the money is all secured before you actually close on the home. And you have a timeline on when you need to get it done. Like you'll actually have to get it done within 6 months so that you can make your spouse or whoever you're buying the house with happy and say, yeah, this can't last for 10 years. Like we have to get this done right away. And the really cool thing on the renovation lending part of it is you can go in as low as 3% down. If you're like a first-time homeowner, I mean, you can get 3% down on the purchase price, plus only 3% down on the renovation portion of it. And now it's a 3% project where you can actually get that done. And you can do a lot of things. I mean, we can do kitchens, bathrooms, foundations, roofs, everything like that. Even from an FHA standpoint, a lot of people would love to buy a home that's an FHA, but let's say they're qualified as an FHA home buyer, but they have to turn down the home because it would never qualify as an FHA, loan. Now they don't have to do that. Even if the home doesn't need major renovations, maybe it only needs, 10 to 12 grand worth of renovations. They can say, you know what, we're going to use the FHA loan. We'll get this done. But the other cool thing is you can do hundreds of thousands of renovations, cost of renovations on that, right? And so there's something really for everyone. From your side, if you were thinking about a buyer who may be somewhat nervous about getting into a renovation project, what are some things that you could share with them that may ease their mind a bit about the whole process and making it like a good experience from your side as a business?
Yeah, you've touched on it multiple times. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's about finding the right partner. The horror stories are true,
Yeah.
and so I guess I would say two things. It's not as bad as you think it'll be.
Okay.
There's nothing that we can't renovate.
Yeah.
With very, very few exceptions. I mean, sometimes a house just needs to be torn down, but
Okay.
it's rare.
Yep.
It's rare. And don't discount the idea that you might even like renovating more than buying, because you can put all your own touches in it. You get to pick the paint colors and you get to decide what tile goes in the bathroom. And it's almost like building a house,
Sure.
but it won't take as long.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a unique opportunity to buy an existing home, but to be able to choose anything you want. Right.
Yep.
I mean, and I know you can do that just buying a home because, like I said, you could buy a home, close on it, then go back and get the keys and then start daydreaming about all the things you're going to do to your house. And then life gets busy and you had unexpected expenses come up and this and that. And you're like, well, we'll do this next year, kind of thing. And then someone's getting ornery that, they're living with a 1980s kitchen still,
Happens at my house all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But if you go into it the mindset of a renovation project and you get the funding secured before you do it, a couple things. You're not putting any of the funding on like a Home Depot card at like 15% or something. Now, maybe, interest or credit card at interest, higher interest rates or anything. Like none of that has to come up because now you're securing the financing at the lower interest rate of a home mortgage, right? And you also have the opportunity after you actually get the project done to see how that loan compares to just every cookie cutter everyday loan, because we could actually refinance you out of the renovation loan into just a regular loan as well, like when you're done, to get even better financing. So it just makes that process a lot better. If I would have known about this, 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was buying more houses, I just would have been more apt to buy a home for a better price because no one else wanted to buy it. And then get a budget together and renovate it. Because a home, in my mind, when I look at people buying homes, it's fine to buy a retail home that's ready to fly off the shelf because everything's perfect. But everyone's going to give top dollar for that house. But when a home's a little ugly, people aren't going to pay top dollar for it. Stuff like that. Does that make sense? You see that?
Absolutely. Those are our favorite ones.
Yeah. Exactly. What do you guys as a company on the renovation side? What do you do a lot of? I mean, do you a lot of kitchens, a lot of bathrooms, a lot of everything? What are you doing?
Do a lot of foundation repairs.
Okay.
It's super common for folks not to realize that they have to maintain a crawl space.
Okay.
Just nobody ever tells them. And so, inevitably there's some rot, mold, mildew.
Sure.
So we do a lot of foundation work, kitchens, bathrooms, windows, siding and roofs.
Yep.
I'd say it's a lot of what we do.
It's a lot. Yeah. So from, on my social media accounts, I have a lot of realtors that I've gone out of my way to connect with because of the business I'm in. So I've connected with them, try to, engage and stuff like that. One thing that they run into quite often is repairs. Meaning like they're in contract. It may not be a renovation loan or anything like that, but there's some repairs that are needed. How do you guys feel about, doing that kind of work for real estate agents and stuff during the buy process? Is that part of your business model or?
Yeah, absolutely. So I moved from Texas where I actually owned a real estate brokerage. I have my real estate license presently.
Okay.
So I'm very, very aware of what needs to take place to get things to the closing table. And now I'm in the unique position where the contractor letter that I need, I get to write.
That's good. Absolutely.
And I know, there's a million ways to say something.
Right.
We're never going to lie, but there's definitely,
the right verbiage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know how it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. So on a situation like that, what's the typical, like with you guys, how do you do that as a business? So if I'm in contract to buy a home, and I bring this up because this happens a lot, more than even the renovation stuff for us, where we're in a contract, we need to close on the home. Underwriter, someone called out something on the appraisal, we need to get it looked at. How does that process work? Who are they phoning and stuff like that? How are they getting in touch with you to do that?
Yeah, so the call would come into our office manager, and she's basically got an intake form. She's going to get all the details that we need. And then depending on, we like to try and avoid emergencies when we can. But the flip side of that is we understand that this is real estate and sometimes it's an emergency. And so we respond accordingly. Sometimes it's all you need is a quote. And oftentimes just an inspection report with photos, and we can get you a really, really solid number on what it's going to cost. And usually within a week, we can have the repairs completed.
Just everything done. Yeah.
Everything done.
That's great, which is good, sufficient there as far as getting that home fixed up and everything like that. So that's perfect. I run into that a whole lot. I know all the real estate agents that, help people buy houses run into it. Listing agents run into it all the time. I read something the other day, and this might be interesting for people selling their home. I read a report that said that someone who's buying your home that's a primary resident, like a primary homeowner, will typically end up paying up to 15 to 20% more than an investor will if they're buying the same house. So let's imagine you're listing your house and you want to encourage more primary homeowners to buy your house, even though your house is not in great shape and it's a little ugly. And maybe it's a home that would typically be purchased by, investors. Now, one thing your listing agent can do is they can actually promote a bit more this idea of fixing this home out with a renovation loan for a primary homeowner, as opposed to just being okay with, someone buying it as an investor for a lesser value. And so I read that report. It made a lot of sense to me, because investors, they have their numbers, they're trying to meet it exactly. But primary homeowners, like for their primary, they're definitely a bit more emotional. They're willing to pay a bit more for the area and for what they're doing. And so with the renovation lending, I think if a listing agent knows that, they can go into it better and be like, hey, these are all the opportunities. This is what the house could look like if you fixed it up, and we can even lay that up. So I encourage listing agents to really understand renovation lending a lot more if they're going to list homes that fall into that category of just, they're not like the best retail homes on the market. Stuff like that. All of that. So very good. And so you have a website I wanted to throw up here. I have your number on here. I don't know if you want any. Do people contact you on your cell phone? Or how do people contact you if they want to talk to you?
Oh, goodness gracious. There's probably 50 numbers out there at this point. But don't worry, you call any of them and you're going to get our office staff.
Okay. That sounds good. So what's your website?
RayBrookHomes.com.
RayBrookHomes.com. Cool. So I encourage everyone to check that out. If you've watched this, we're in 16 minutes now. So the biggest point of this video here was to just open people's minds that, you can go look at any home you want, even if it's in disrepair, even if it needs to be torn down, you can get a home loan for it. You can get a renovation loan for it. And then you can also just get a standard construction loan, like a piece of land. But today's more about renovating. Even if you live in a home right now that you don't want to move out of, but it's a bit like older, you can get a renovation loan for that home. So this isn't about just moving. This is about just making it happen and making your home the way you want it to be with the right financing, stuff like that. So I like that. So I think that's my last piece of advice for anyone listening today is if you've made it 16 minutes or you're just coming in here, and it means you might like us, you might like the content. It would be awesome if you'd share this, in your channel. People might enjoy it. Give us a thumbs up. Love it. Stuff like that. That'd be good. Any last thoughts from you, Chris?
No, not well, maybe it doesn't have to take as long as you think it does. We just built a house from the ground up in 82 days. 82 days. So you don't think that it's going to be a year. That's not the case.
What's like a renovation project usually take from start to finish? Like, let's say a $100,000 renovation project on a residential house, kitchen, bath, roof, stuff like that.
I'd say no more than 6 weeks.
Really? Amazing. Yep. Yeah. That's really fast. I mean, the loans themselves give people 6 months. And that's like what you have to be done in, but most of these projects can be done in under 2 months, huh?
Yep. Absolutely.
It's pretty awesome. So yeah, just think about that, guys. Well, I appreciate you. Love my community, people that listen to this, share it. Realtors that are listening, share it. Call Chris. He's again, just an awesome communicator, knows his stuff, projects, just go off without a hitch, stuff like that. So we appreciate him, but we'll end this live stream now. Appreciate you guys.